It was, how many of you are familiar, this is going to be dating you some, but they're kind of iconic, with the Indiana Jones show, right? Right, the movies, okay? How many are you familiar with, like, the original Star Wars Empire Strikes Back? Okay, so my story was a mashup between Indiana Jones and Han Solo, who's of course played by the same actor, coming to Earth. It's so embarrassing. He was an intergalactic archaeologist, as one is, and came to Earth and of course fell in love with a young girl who seemed a lot like me. Horrible, absolutely horrible. But it was my very first, I cannot believe I just admitted that. It was my very first story that I completed. It was written in a notebook, handwritten in a notebook, and I was about 12. And then right after that, I wrote a choose your own adventure game for the Commodore 64, which is also dating me, computer that's not even around anymore. But it was like the choose your own adventure stories. You had to answer questions, and it would take you to someplace else in the program. So I learned how to program, use programming language with that story. And it was called The Silver Key, and that was more of a fantasy of a person who had to found the silver key and had to find out what it was for. That was when I was 12 and 13. And I'd always been pretty good at writing, and I'd always done really well in essays, not so well in math, but really great on the English side of the house. And I was pretty sure I was going to be a writer, even back then, because that was just where things were easier for me. But I used my writing. I was in a writing contest in high school. I got into college based on the strength of my essays. It's all great. Then when I graduated college, I thought, oh, I've got to get a job. And I pretty much put my writing on hold for many years. I went on to, I became a communications professional, went all the way up to become a vice president of communications for a multinational financial services firm, which is just about as exciting as it sounds. And eventually I realized I'd given up on my dream. And here I was, at that point I was in my late 20s. And that's not a great time of life to look around and say, wow, is that all there is? So I started writing again. And I say this to you so that you don't do that. So that even if you decide to, graduate, go to college, which of course, would be amazing, and get a job, that you don't, if writing is your dream, don't put it on hold. Don't get so caught up in the need to have the workaday job that you put your dreams on hold, because time will pass a lot more quickly than you think. Whatever you need to know, or whatever like the high points are about your book. And then what we're going to do is you have to go around to 5 different people in the room, including me, you can get to me, and just say, the person will say to you, so, what's your book about? And you have to answer it. It's horrifying, I'm just going to tell you right now, but by the 5th time, you're actually going to get pretty good at it. And then, like right now, if somebody were to ask me what my stories are about in general, I say, oh, they're about a group of spy girls in Queen Elizabeth's court. Done. Right? And they don't really need to know anything else. It's sort of like when you ask a friend, hey, how are you feeling? You don't really want to know every second of their health life. But you just want the top line. That's what I'm looking to get from you. Yes?
What if you have 2 ideas and you can't exactly choose between them?
Choose one for this exercise.
Okay.
So just imagine that you've chosen one. Imagine that God came down and said, you will write this book. That's what I would hear about. Okay. So, did you have a question? No? Okay.